Hey, y'all. Welcome to this week's episode of the Writer's Edge podcast. I'm your host, Farley, and today I'm with Linsay Rosser-Sumpter from the Women's Rodeo Championship. Welcome, Linsay.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to visit with you guys.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're coming off of a great event in May of 23. I know it's been bigger than it has been, so I'm excited to talk about how it went and where you're going and all of those things. But first, let's kind of start with the warm up. I'm a full believer that everybody is the best teller of their own story. So tell me all about Linsay, and I'll give you the mic from there.
Awesome. Yeah, born and raised in the rodeo business. I kind of say a lot. I'm rodeo by genetic default. Like I didn't really have a choice. I don't remember learning how to ride. I don't remember my first rodeo. My grandfather was Cotton Rosser. He was a Hall of Fame, kind of any Hall of Fame rodeo producer. He started out as a competitor and then got in a terrible accident and it turned him into a stock contractor, and they called him kind of the PT Barnum of rodeo. So I grew up um, on the production side of it. When I was 6 years old, I carried the flag, the American flag, at the NFR at the Thomas and Mack, and went up on a turntable. And I'm the girl that will come out of a big 2-story tall cowboy boot carrying the American flag. When I was 13, I trick Roman Road. My competition side of rodeo athlete didn't really come until I was in my teens, and my brother kind of started a high school rodeo, and so when we transitioned from you know doing the rodeo production side of things to like being competitors ourselves, because my dad, he was a circuit champion saddle bronc rider and team roper and cap roper and bulldogger, so he was very versed in all of the timed events and rough stock. And then my mom, she showed Western pleasure horses, so I kind of had a lot of diversity within the equine industry. But about 14 or 15, about 14, I started to compete in rope, and super lucky. I've had really great coaches my whole life. Um, had success through high school rodeo in California. Went to nationals and all of that fun stuff, and went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo on a rodeo scholarship and competed for them on the rodeo program for 4 years. And my fifth year, I was actually the rodeo queen because they gave a full tuition scholarship to the rodeo queen. So I was like, well, I'm not getting a rodeo scholarship, so here we go. So um, I graduated from Cal Poly with an agriculture science degree with a concentration in animal science and then a minor in ag communications. I kind of fiddle farted around there for a while and went with the rodeo program, or with the rodeo company. And I met my husband. He was a rodeo competitor at that point. He was a steer wrestler. And he's originally from Southeast Colorado. And I took a job with the professional bull riders and was a PR and marketing manager for the professional bull riders for about a year and a half. And then Wade and I decided to get married, and we got married in May 23rd, 2019. And I left the PBR and I started Otero Rodeo program in June 1st of 2009. And I've been head rodeo coach since then. So this next year will be the start of my 15th season as a head coach. When I started coaching in 2009, I was one of three in the whole country that was like the head coach, like the whole, the not just a women's coach. I was the head coach. So rodeo has, transformed quite a bit since then. And then always competed. When I graduated from college, historically, I was of the generation that when we graduated, we were done tying goats and we were kind of done team roping. If you wanted to be in the rodeo business, you had to be a barrel racer. So I ran barrels quite a bit until I moved to Colorado. In Colorado, they had breakaway roping at all the amateur rodeos out here. And then I was closer to Texas. We're about 10 hours from Fort Worth, so it's an easy trip to Texas. And so I started roping again when I came back out here. And in February, well, really, like the talks kind of started after the women's event, after the Women's Rodeo World Championship, when it was in Vegas 2 years ago. I was having conversations with the producers, and I was just like, hey, this is such a cool opportunity for women. Like, I don't want to see it go anywhere. Like, here's some things that I see, like, because they were all friends of mine, through rodeo production. like, here's some things I see, like, to just try to make it better. And they came to me in February of 22 and they said, hey, we we need a commissioner for women's rodeo world championship. Would you be interested? And I absolutely. So since February of 22, I've been head rodeo coach, commissioner of women's rodeo. I have two little boys, 6 and 9. My husband is a retired steer wrestler. He had made the final 6 times in the steer wrestling, and now he ranches and farms here in Southeast Colorado. So we're farmers, ranchers, mom, commissioner, coach. Uh, a lot of irons in the fire, but all good things. So still get to compete. Like, I'm headed to a rodeo this weekend, and we just, like you said, came off of a very successful women's rodeo world championship in Fort Worth last week. So I'm still a little hoarse and kind of have the crud, but really thankful in the position that I'm in within the industry for sure.
Absolutely. And it probably the warm up of this podcast is always my favorite part, getting to listen to everybody's story and how they got to where they are and doing the cool things that they're doing now. So yes, yay. So I wanted to Linsay, I really wanted to talk today as we kind of move into the main event of what we're talking about. And we want to talk about the Women's Rodeo World Championship. You've had a super successful, I knew your story was tied up with the whole creation of that. And so you guys seem to have a very successful 2023 event with the Cowgirl Gathering moving to that week and the opening of the Cowgirl Channel. And so, as you mentioned earlier, rodeo's changed a lot and it's going to continue to change. And so, talk a little bit about the success of your 2023 event.
Yeah, so Women's Rodeo World Championships is actually it's a single event. We are co-owned by the PBR and the WCRA, the World Champion Rodeo Alliance. So really two big powerhouses in the industry. And so like I said, when they came to me, I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer in the sense that of course I want to be part of this movement towards women equality and just equity across the board for ladies. And that is really what the Women's Rodeo World Championships is very devoted to, is like for the athletes, which is one of the very main key points for the WCRA. And then the PBR, I mean, obviously they have so much success and, with the implementations of the teams this last year. And I mean, they're just two really amazing companies to work for. So what the Women's Rodeo World Championships is, they came together. So this was our 4th year, and they came together 4 years ago and said, "Hey, wait, we see that there's a hole right here for women in the industry, and we want to fill that gap a little bit. Yeah, the NFR is great, yes, but the WCRA was the first rodeo organization to add breakaway at equal money at all of their major events. They have 4 major events every year." So they were the first ones to do that. And then here came Cheyenne in 2019, so they were kind of the ones that started the steamroll of this breakaway effect across the country. So they add $750,000 added money to the largest all-female rodeo finals in the world. It ends up being about $183,000 in each discipline, added equal added money in the team roping discipline. So 183 for the heading and 183 for the heeling. And this year and then we're the only organization that has classifications within the industry. So we have the pros and we have the challengers. Now, there's not a negative connotation within the challenger. It just might be someone like yourself or myself who has a couple different irons in the fire and we don't have the opportunity to go run down the alley 5 days a week, trying to finish a barrel horse or to rope somewhere. Like you're a professor, you're a nurse, you're a full-time mom, and you just can't go down the road. You can't go put that 100,000 miles on a pickup every year. So what we did was we saw that, we tried to find that threshold where a professional obviously is going to be your Martha Angelonis, your Jackies, your Larry D's, in the roping side of things, your Haley Kimsels, your Donna Kays, right? Those ladies who are going down the road making the NFR. But then there's these Linsay Sumpters who have the ability but don't have the opportunity to get the outs. So we're going to give them a comfort zone. We're going to let them compete to till the semifinals, and then at the end, when we award big money, we're going to bring them together. So that's kind of a cool concept. I mean, we broke the arena record with a challenger barrel racer in the second round. She ran, gosh, I can't think of her name right now. My brain is a little tired, but um, I want to say it's like Wiley Joe, but she was riding Jules, which is the horse that
Mm-hmm.
Haley Kimsel had won the event on last year, and ran a 13. She ran a 13:029 or something like that, and she was in the challenger barrel race, and they had won the round in the pro barrel racing with a 13:2. Well, then, all for the athletes. We rake every five. We hand rake every girl. Laura Moat comes in there and shatters the arena record and runs a 12:9 something, at our event. It's crazy. It was like it was just electric and amazing. But back to what the women's rodeo is. So these two companies came together and said, we want to fill this void for women in the industry. What can we do? Let's have this large finals. So what you do is you nominate through the Women's Rodeo World Championship app. It's just an app on your phone. You put the event that you're already going to. It's kind of, I always say it's a similar concept to if you're at the blackjack table and you get two aces, you split, right? And you double down your money and you try to play both hands. Well, what this is you're already going to a barrel race. You go onto the app, you add that event into the app. It's a nomination fee depending on the scale of how much money's added and how much money you can win and all of that. And you accumulate points on our leaderboard system to try to get you there. When you look at that, you say, well, you can't win any money back from the nomination fees. But when you go to a rodeo that adds $183,000 in the barrel race, you're willing to go put up 500, 1,000, depending on where you're at,
Right.
financially and what your opportunity cost you're willing to put up. So if you say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to budget out a $500 um, allowance for the year of 2024, because we're already into 24, right? We just finished 23. We're already into 24 on the nomination process. I'm going to budget out $500 and I'm going to take 35 to go to this event. I'm going to take 150 to go to this bigger event. I'm going to take 50 to go to this event on my nomination fees. And then, you either get in or you don't kind of situation, right? Like it'd be no different than if you went to one event, added 183,000 and you put up $1,000. But this, you can kind of strategically plan out where you're going to go. Like, your horse works really good at this arena and they're going to pay X amount of holes or whatever. You can strategically plan out where you can accumulate points. So it's kind of a cool concept. But like just this year alone, we had Tito's Vodka come on, we had Equinity come on, we had Renew Gold come on, we had Shea Baby come on, and we built these cool things around that. The National Cowgirl Hall of Fame and Museum, Shea Baby, we had a bounce house that was free to all the kids and balloon tires, and the Texas Rattler, their mascot, he was there to sign autographs, and we had a deal with Texas Rattlers to have an honorary female competitor on their bull riding team. Like, so many things have come to fruition in this last year since, I got kind of hired on as the commissioner. We had a beautiful brunch at the National Cowgirl Hall of Fame and Museum in the Rotunda. And it was just like, there was this nostalgia about it because you're here, you're in this like hall of all of these pioneers within the industry. And then we're bringing in these 14, 15-year-old girls or, just some of the pioneers in women's rodeo right now, to kind of come together and see the history behind it and see all the good things that are coming. So with all of that, you know, um, it just kind of everything has kind of snowballed. But we paid out, like I said, over 750,000 in our event. But like you had mentioned, the Cowgirl Gathering moved their dates from the fall to the 3 days before us. And what that allowed it to be, that one week, that women's week in Fort Worth, Texas, paid out over $1.145 million to female athletes alone in the Western industry. So that's pretty awesome to be part of.
Absolutely, which is a huge reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast. We're always talking about getting better for competition, and I thought, what better opportunity than to talk about this, as there is huge amount of changes, and equality and equity coming, as you've talked about, for women in rodeo. And this is a side
Yeah.
note, from a random barrel racer who was couch jockeying. The ground was amazing. I've worked the rodeo sports med. I've worked the American semifinals there several years. So I've been down there in North Side for quite a bit, and even just seeing it on TV, I was like, holy smokes! They got the ground great, because I'm in the barrel racing side right now, since I've got to regroup on the roping side a little bit and get some more horsepower. So yeah, no, kudos to
Yeah.
all the players involved with that.
Yeah, thank you. No, they worked very diligently. And, they had actually, Larry Mahan's funeral was on Tuesday before our last chance qualifier on Wednesday. And it wasn't supposed to, obviously it wasn't supposed to happen like that. The Cowgirl Gathering was supposed to be in there on Tuesday and have the breakaway roping. They had brought in, I don't know, it was like this hard plastic, almost like shell that they clipped in together. And the whole arena was hard as a pancake, and they had this hard plastic shell because the whole funeral was on the arena ground. And I'm like, oh, it gave me so much anxiety that night, because I'm like, I just, please just hope this doesn't mess up the ground. But the arena crew did a phenomenal job and made sure that it was up to par, which obviously we broke the arena record twice. So they dang sure did their part. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I try to give, I'm real big about giving kudos where kudos are due, because we don't always do that um, very well in our industry. Oh, so
I,
Lynn.
I I say a lot, like, you don't get to gripe unless you are one of those people that are willing to come with a solution instead of just the problems.
Mhm.
Like, it's so hard, especially because you, as a person who has produced rodeos in my family for so long, like, you hear contestants just this, and this, and like, little do you know that maybe that set of calves was the only thing that you could find, and you either rope that set of calves or you don't have a competition, and that's all, depending on, where you're at geographically within the industry, within the world. And, if you can't come with solutions, and then you don't really get to have a huge opinion in the matter in my mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've produced a few things, not anything to the scale you've done your whole life, but very much of the same mindset. So I definitely want to give a shout out, to when it, especially when it goes
Yeah.
so well, because of so much work that goes into it.
Yeah.
So
It was a lot. And I can't thank Sammy Jo Smith enough. She's the director of operations and administration for women's rodeo. And I mean, it would, like, she is the one that makes the wheels go round. Like, I come up with like crazy ideas, or I'm the talker and I'm moving and shaking, and she's the one that's like just making sure all of those intricate details are perfect. And she's so amazing. And the women's rodeo world championship wouldn't be what it is without Sammy Jo Smith. That's for sure.
yes, you guys have such a talented team, even the ones that aren't out in front. Because I know it takes such a talented team to pull that off, even for everybody who is behind the scenes doing a lot of the other tasks that go unseen. So
Yeah.
Linsay, tell me, talk about if a newcomer wants to come in, they've seen this going on since 2019 and seen it growing, and talk about, if a newcomer wants to come on to, um, qualifying to next year's event, how does she do it? What does she do?
So, like I said, really, I'll even go to the app right now on my phone. So you can go to your app store, and then I don't know if my phone, if it'll focus in here. Let's see. No, it might not focus. So it's right here. It's Women's Rodeo World Championship app. There we go. and you click on the app. And what that does is it kind of takes you to our website and it takes you to some of the stuff. But down here it says nominate, and you click on that nomination, which obviously I already have a profile built, and this takes you to the database of events that you could potentially already be going to. But what I would do is you build your profile and you put in the disciplines that you would potentially be competing in. Like for myself personally, right now, it's team roping, heading and heeling, and breakaway roping. You click on an event, like I'm just going to put Colorado right there, and it'll pull up. It'll pull up within the app right here. Oh, make that go away. Let's do Texas. It's probably easier because so much more will come up. So when you put in just a region, it'll have all of these events that you could potentially go to. Oh, I already clicked on one. So I clicked on the Texas T Ranch Arena Friday Night Lights. I click on the discipline and I can push tie down or breakaway roping. I push breakaway roping, I add it, and then I go to next. I gotta probably have to stay further back so it works. Open breakaway, there's the time. I click next, and then I see to the different areas that I want to nominate to. So I can either nominate to Rodeo, Carolina, which is our major event for the WCRA that's happening in North Carolina at Tryon, or I can push W24, which is women's 24, the 2024. I click on that as the segment that I want to go to, push next, and it goes straight to the payment process, and then you just compete. So if there's an event that I'll just say at my local 3 for Fowler Roping Club will have a 2 for 50 breakaway jackpot, something like that. And it's not in that database, I can individually add it and it'll charge you automatically $150. But then if it's like, say it's a $35 nomination fee, it's a Division 5, they'll refund your money back. So, or you can go to events at wcrarodeo.com and I can email the flyer to those events at wcrarodeo.com and they'll add it in, and then you can just add it. And we'll add it into the database, and then we just have to make sure we get the results, and then you can accumulate points throughout there. So the hardest part is the education side of this whole system of nominating these events that you're already going to, because it's new, right? It's new for rodeo. It's new for us good old, cowboys like to call Procom on the 1-800 number so we can enter the rodeo. And now all of that is automated online, and you have to use your phone and you have to use your computer to enter any rodeo anymore. And so it's just kind of that education process of, yes, you enter somewhere else the event that you're going to, but you have to nominate through this app. So build a profile, figure out what you want your allowance to be to try to get, points accumulated to, because we do take top 20 in the challenger and the top 20 in the pro on the leaderboards to Women's Rodeo World Championship. For next year, obviously W24, it'll be in May in Fort Worth, Texas. Again, I don't have exact dates because we will go simultaneously with the PBR World Finals. So whenever the PBR World Finals is when we're going to be. And that's how we ended up in Vegas when it was in Vegas, all of that good stuff. So find your event, go on the app, nominate your event, email the results to the WCRA. You'll get accumulate points, and you just let the ball keep rolling the way that it is. The cool part is you stay in your lane, right? You go to the events that you're comfortable going to. You go to, like Martha Angeloni, she is the prime example of somebody who's understands the process of where you can accumulate points and how you can accumulate more points. She nominates all of those events that she's going to that are going to have more than one round and an average, so that she can, get points in that all those different ways. And then here she is. She gets a $20,000 all-around bonus. She gets a $5,000 all-around, or she gets a $20,000 all-around bonus and a $5,000 world champion bonus just on top of the money that she won. And then she goes in and wins the dang team roping and wins over $81,000 that week at Women's Rodeo World Championship. Like Martha's a competitor on so many levels, but Martha understands the importance of, nominating those events that you're already going to, just so you can have another chance to win big money once you get here.
Yeah, so many great opportunities, and I think it takes a minute on the education part of it. As I've sat down
Mhm.
when all this started, and I worked Salt Lake, and I had Bobby and Kate sit down with me and say, okay, how does this even work? And keep going through that.
Mhm.
So great job of explaining how to get through that and get nominated for next year. So speaking of next year, Linsay,
Yeah.
um,
And
go ahead.
go ahead. No, no, nope.
That's what happens in rural America. The internet will skip out just a little bit. It's always my prerequisite when I record at home that you got to hang on with the internet. We're doing imperfect action beats perfect inaction. Oh,
Got to
so
make sure no other devices are on.
yes, yes, you gotta turn things off, turn things on, all the things. Stand on one leg with your arm in the air. Mhm. So speaking of next year, Linsay, looking forward to another great event. I know it's a little early to ask this as you're still recovering from this year's event, but what are your goals for 2024?
I mean, really, just to keep the education process going of how women can have we're not in competition with anybody. We just want to be another avenue for female competitors, whether they're a team roper, breakaway roper, barrel racer, to have another opportunity to make money. So continue that education process. We do have some things in the works that hopefully are going to be a little spicy quesadilla once we get to announce them, which I can't really talk about that right now. But and then we're really trying to figure out a way, another avenue for more female competitors to get involved with us. So we're looking into other avenues of allowing more ladies to have the opportunity with women's rodeo. Um, Obviously, the more money that we can award ladies for their athletic abilities, you know, in the arena is the best, and we're looking for ways to do that. Looking to build new partnerships with different businesses and entities across the board, but really just continue to open the door for more ladies like yourself and myself and the ladies that are beating down the pavement to try to make it to the NFR for um, equality across the board when it comes to the amount of money that's being added. That you're there for the athletes, that there's options for these ladies to make a living that maybe is not going to require you to be away from your family for 9 months out of the year, and really just continue to on that trajectory.
That sounds wonderful. I it's one of the goals of Writer's Edge too is that we're not in competition with anybody. We're it's a sandbox we can all play in, and some of us just have different paths within that sandbox. So I really like that aspect of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you. It's very important that people understand that we're not trying to cut anyone's cinches. We're just trying to be another avenue for female competitors to make a living doing what, I mean, we all dedicate so much. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody's gonna make get rich being a rodeo bum, right? Like we're all in it because we love the sport and we love the industry so much. And just another avenue for female competitors to get exposure, to gain experience, to have another way to, like, how cool is it that you can hold up a $60,000 check? Cheyenne Wimberly hasn't, didn't make the NFR the last few years, raised and trained her own horse, and here she goes and wins 60,000 on him at our event and gets that rodeo experience and gets, to compete at the highest level, and still can go home and go, I just made 60 something $1,000, and I went to the events that I already wanted to go to. that worked for my horse, I qualified for this one event, and it worked out for me here. So that's the kind of the icing on the cake, that there's another avenue for female competitors to be able to go and win money at these events.
Absolutely. And so that kind of all this conversation kind of brings us to our cool down today. And within our cool down, you've kind of already answered this question, but I'll ask it again because a fun thing about this question is when I ask it this way, there always ends up being a really cool um, answer to it. So, what, Linsay, in our conversation today about the Women's Rodeo World Championship, what does this conversation help give cowgirls an edge?
Well, if they're listening, I mean, maybe they didn't know, right? Maybe they saw some things on the Cowboy and the Cowgirl channel with it, and maybe they're like, I mean, my husband is guilty of sitting here listening to me talk women's rodeo for years. And he's like, I don't know. I don't get it. And I'm like, cause you don't try. You don't get it because you don't try. You don't get it because you don't listen. You don't get it because it's different. Like maybe everyone here is going like, huh, that does not sound that hard, right? Like maybe hopefully that from your what gives your listeners the edge is that it finally resonated, right? All of the neurons fired to the part of the brain where you're like, oh, that's easy. That's not
Mm-hmm.
that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like here this whole time I thought it was really hard. But I more than anything like want your listeners to realize that we're for all athletes. There's obviously the pros and there's the gals that are going and making the NFR. There's the Brittany Posies and there's the Jackie Crawfords and the Larry D's and the Haley Kimsels. Like, but there's a need in our industry, especially as women, that we need to band together or we're going to get shut out on numerous levels. If you look at Title IX and what's happening with athletics, which you understand, because you're on the athletic trainer side, I understand because I'm in the athletic coaching side. Women are under siege. And if we don't figure out a way to band together and stay together to make our work that we've put so hard into this, it will be diminished if we don't work together. And so I went kind of on a tangent with you there, but like really for your listeners to get the edge from this is to go, okay, I'm going to give these people a chance. Like I'm going to look into this. I'm going to go see what qualifier series, because that's the other thing. Like we're working with these producers across the country that are producing these amazing events that the highest nominated, cowgirl like myself, if I go to the Cowgirl Gathering and I'm the highest placing nominated cowgirl, I didn't have to win first, right? I just had to be the highest placing nominated cowgirl. I get a guaranteed spot into the Women's Rodeo World Championship, and we're trying to geographically place these qualifier series throughout the entire country so that it's a little easier for people like yourself who are busy and have a lot of different things going on a chance to get to the Women's Rodeo World Championship. And so really just opening these opportunities and doors, that's what your listeners are going to get, is that they're maybe hopefully everything is firing right, and how I'm explaining how you get nominated and how you get qualified is a little bit easier. It's a less daunting procedure now at this point.
Absolutely. That's a huge thing. It takes saying the same thing a little slightly different way over and over again to go, oh yeah, now I get it. We're all human, and I'm guilty. I'm so guilty of that myself. So yeah. So hopefully this conversation
We
today,
all are. And
yeah. Isn't that crazy, Linsay?
yeah.
Like you can have somebody you nothing we talked about today
Mm-hmm.
is rocket science, right? It's not brand new information, but hopefully it will click for somebody out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so too. And that's my whole thing. When I had somebody ask me today on a phone call, they're like, well, what can we do to help? And I was like, just try to help educate other female athletes on how easy this process really is. And the more female athletes that we can get involved and another platform for them, the better. Because that's really what it is that we just, to help keep this thing going is to, keep the education process to where all high school rodeo athletes are going to nominate, and every single, NBHA or 4D barrel racers like, oh, I want to go there. I want to go compete. Like I got to work. It's awesome inside. And, I know that I'm at that level, and hopefully we can continue to open more doors at different, athletic ability levels as well. And that's something that's important to us, is to really try to, include everyone within the industry, from beginner to middle to advanced middle to pro to, like my mother or somebody who's 65, 70 years old is like, I want to rope breakaway calf again, and I want to have that competition level. So that's kind of what we really want to do, is just really be that inclusive area for all female rodeo athletes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talked and you walked us through the app very well today, but is there anywhere else that people can go to get more information? Just kind of reiterate for everybody where they can find you guys and all those different avenues of communication.
Yeah, so Instagram, we are at Women's Rodeo. Facebook, it's Women's Rodeo World Championship. Our website is wrwc.rodeo. So that's kind of cool. So wrwc.rodeo is our website. And feel free to reach out to me on my social. I'm Linsay Lee at Instagram, Linsay Rosser-Sumpter on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, we are always out to answer any questions, try to help people so they can get categorized, with whether it be challenger or pro, make sure they're in the right field. But really just the website and social media, we try to be very active on our social media. So anything, you can kind of find us throughout all of that, and then myself as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Linsay, for taking the time today to chat with me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope that this gives your listeners the edge that they're looking for when it comes to Women's Rodeo World Championship.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening to this week's episode. And as always, I will see you down the road.